In this episode of Gogopreneur, I'm so excited to have Lacie Evans with us. I wanted to interview her for multiple reasons. A, because she has built a massive brand and a massive following on social media, but B, because she did it in such a different way for a woman. So she is actually all about agriculture. She's all about her cows and her farms and the love for her animals. But at the same time, she has built a massive following that she turned her into an entrepreneur to take care of her animals, to take care of the farm. And she does it with such a self-esteem and such a comfort in her own being. And I wanted to interview her to figure out, how can you be so confident in such a male-dominated world? I'm assuming agriculture is a male-dominated world, just like real estate is a male-dominated world, right? And how does one woman have so much confidence in a male-dominated world? So let me introduce you to Lacie Evans, and let's get started. Let's get to know her.
Welcome to Gogopreneur, where Gogo Bethke, your host, interviews badass rock star entrepreneurs of the world, figuring out who they are, how they got to where they're at, and the lessons they learned along the way, so you can learn those lessons and turn it into money. Let's go get them.
Hello, my Gogopreneur friends. Are you frustrated by not knowing how to reach that 7-digit mark in your business? Maybe kind of like stuck in the progress? I want to invite you to GoGet'em It is your last stop to becoming a 7-digit entrepreneur. You will have access to monthly live calls with me and industry experts and Q&As at the end. Every training video is recorded. We have a massive knowledge library. You will have access to my team. Tuesdays for Tech Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you have direct access to my VAs. Ask them absolutely anything, how we have built everything in all of my businesses. You will have access to a private Facebook group and a private Facebook chat. And that's where I communicate directly with all of our members. That's where I share my thoughts, my ideas, a new app, books that I'm reading, videos that I'm watching, anything I'm feeding to my brain, any systems that I'm implementing into my business. That is your direct access to me, your direct access to each other and like-minded entrepreneurs in the industry. Join us today to transform your business. Go to GoGetM Community.com. So Lacie, just a little bit about me. So you work in the men's world, so do I. I work in real estate where it's mostly men, right? Like even though most women, about 60% almost of realtors are women, we still, the top 90% of the top is men. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, so yeah. I'm still hanging in the good old boys club every single day. So that's the reason. I just wanted to understand, like, even though I'm not in the agricultural world, I'm also originally from Transylvania, Romania. So I was raised with all kinds of animals. And every time I watch that, it just takes me back to my childhood. So I have that in common with you. And then I have the working in the men's world in common with you. And that's really where I want to guide the conversation today, is to make sure that we kind of just cover what is that like and how did Lacie become so how did you learn to know who Lacie is?
Yeah.
Awesome. Definitely. Let's get started. So guys, I am so super excited. My guest today is Lacie Evans, and I really want to get to know her, kind of walk through the path of how did Lacie become Lacie, but also just so you guys to understand what is the process of self-esteem. Were you born with it, Lacie, or did you develop that backbone?
I think that I was always an eccentric kid, I guess you could say. But then as I got older, I always struggled with weight. I started having issues when I was like 11, 12. And so I definitely was pretty self-conscious in like high school specifically, and a little bit in college. And then I think in my early to mid 20s, I started to really just come into myself and learn who I was. And honestly, as corny as it is, I feel like the internet kind of helped me with that too. Like being an online presence and sharing myself with the world. I feel like that definitely helped build that self-esteem to where it is now.
So you said college. So can I ask you this? I'm just going to go straight blunt right into it. Why do you go to college to take care of your animals?
So my farm is completely just for fun. We don't actually make money off of our cattle. So I was going to need some other career path. So I went to college, originally was dead set on being a large animal veterinarian from the time that I was a little girl. And then when I graduated with my bachelor's, I ended up kind of having a weird like life moment because my grandma was sick. So I took care of her. And then I kind of just fiddled with jobs and jumped from job to job until the internet happened. And then it was really neat because I got to kind of combine all the things I loved doing with, making it a career.
Awesome. So everyone, you can find Lacie on Lacie Evans on Instagram, and that's where I started following you. So the very first time I came across, that was that video that went viral. A lot of your videos went viral, but the one when you jumped on the back of snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cuteness aggression.
Oh my God. It was like, I sent that video to everyone that I know. I'm like, I can't stop watching it. Also, it takes me back home, right? So that's just like such a like childhood moment for me.
Yeah.
But I just loved your confidence in that. I love the love for your animals in that. So let's walk back. When did you start your Instagram and why?
So, I mean, I started Instagram when I was in high school, obviously, like everybody, and used it just as, regular high school, college student. And then my first social media platform that I started using for my career was TikTok. And then I started taking Instagram more seriously last year as another avenue, because in my brain, when I first started the internet, I thought, oh, I need to have I'm going to only build one audience, and then I'm going to have to just like do different things. So on Instagram, they're only going to want pictures, and on TikTok, they're going to want the videos, blah, 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 blah. But then I realized you build separate communities completely. So I started just actually posting my reels, is what they're called, over on Instagram, obviously. And like I said, last year, I really started taking that seriously. And so all the content that I was already making for TikTok, I just started also posting on Instagram. And yeah, then it kind of happened.
So TikTok is Lacie Evans _. So which one is your favorite?
I prefer Instagram for sure. I prefer its algorithm, and I like the community over there. I don't have anything against TikTok. TikTok's just such a weird setup with how when you follow somebody, you don't ever actually see them. So it's super weird.
I don't have TikTok on my phone because I went down on that conspiracy route. I was like, never mind. I'll just take it off my phone and act like it's not there. So I think I have a TikTok account that at some point one of my assistants was managing, but I don't think we do it anymore. So let's walk back a little bit. Were you raised on a farm?
Yeah, we've had cattle ever since I was like 5 or 6.
That's awesome. And do you have siblings? Because I don't see, usually just you and your animals.
Mm-hmm. I do have 2 siblings. I have an older brother and an older sister.
And do they partake in the farm life?
Not really. My sister never really had an interest. She moved away right out of high school to go to college, and she's lived like in a city ever since. And then my brother, he was the first one who got into cattle, because him and my grandpa started show cattle together. And so he was the one who started it all, but he's not as interested. I think eventually he would probably end up having cattle again, but he doesn't have a huge passion for it at the moment.
And I just love that you keep it alive, right? I feel like I wish I paid attention when my grandparents were teaching us. Like I learned how to milk a cow with hand and a goat. My parents had mostly goats. My grandparents, sorry, not my parents. My parents raised us in a city, and then I spent every summer in my grandparents' village, right? So that's where I got to learn that food comes from the backyard, right? But if I had to do that today, of how much I didn't pay attention as a teenager of how to actually do that, we would probably starve, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, what do you look forward to? Like, what do you love most about this? And why did you end up grabbing the phone? Because I feel like taking care of animal is so much work. Like that's all we did all day, every day. Like we had to wake up crack of dawn to so in Romania, they let the cows, there are these, shepherds, I guess they are called in English. So they take all the cows from the village, they meet in the middle, right in the middle of the village, and then they go up in the mountains, they graze all day, and then they bring them home back to the central of the village, and the cows know where they live. So then from that central, they just go home. So
That's super neat.
Isn't it cool? I'll take you one time. Cool. You would love it. You would love it. Because traffic stops for the cows. Like it's just amazing, right? So then the cows are super smart. They know where they live. They go back home. So we always had to wake up super early, let them go out with the herd, right? And then you have to be home around 5-6 o'clock when they come home, and you have to milk them before they leave. You have to milk them when they come home. So like I have a little bit of that. So I know it's a lot of work, right? Feeding them, taking care of them, cleaning the stalls, all that. So at what point did you decide to grab the phone and start like memorating the steps to the process?
So I actually had no intentions of filming my animals, just because there's such a negative connotation around agriculture and a lot of misconceptions and a lot of just false information when it comes to where food comes from and how farmers treat their animals. And so I just kind of like never wanted to touch that. But then in 2020, like right before the pandemic, for a lot of people, I feel like that's when a lot of creators came to the like platform. I just posted a goofy video with Snow. She was pregnant at the time, and I just was being silly, and I just made her like she was laying down, and I had her head, and I was like making her agree to like, oh, you're gonna have your baby in the nice warm barn and not outside in the muddy, gross weather, right? And like making her shake her head, because I figured like the video wouldn't do well. If anybody gets it, it's just gonna be other farmers or ranchers that have animals. But it blew up, and then people were really invested in Snow's pregnancy. And so then I realized I kind of had this really cool opportunity of getting to educate people on how animals are taken care of, how they're treated, and just teach them more about the ag industry. Because I mean, I have so many people that come to my page that don't even know the difference between a dairy and a beef cow. And so they're spreading all this misinformation because of what some kind of group like PETA has given them, without actually understanding, like, no, beef cows aren't separated from their babies. They are on their moms until they're like 6 months old and weaned. Like, it's a whole different process. There's all these different things that people just don't know. And so I feel like because I am somebody who takes care of my animals very well, and they are treated because they're just pets, people are more prone to listen to me, I guess, because they trust that, since they see the animals being taken care of well. But then I'm like, but you don't understand, like, this is all farmers for the most part, because logically, why would you spend so much money, time, and effort into producing animals if you weren't going to take care of them well? Because then they're not going to produce for you. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. I love the video when you carried your cat in a sling, I guess it's called.
Yep, that's Doja. She's my baby.
I just love watching them all. I love the video when you explained what's the difference between what was it, the heifer, calf?
Heifer and cow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And also English is my third language, right? So I have those obstacles too, but like actually understanding how to use the words, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your self-esteem. How did that come about?
It's funny because you think the internet would be what would destroy your self-esteem, because obviously internet trolls and people are hateful. But I think it actually built mine way more. Because in the beginning, like if you go back and like if you went all the way back to my original videos in like 2020 and even 21, I never posted my body. It was either like selfie mode of like me filming myself, or it was like my point of view, because I was nervous, because I've always been somebody who was not super thin, and I knew what the internet was like. But then when I started actually like showing my body, I received messages and comments from other women who were like, it's so nice to see somebody who looks like me. It's so nice to see somebody who has a similar body type to me, and that representation. And I kind of had this aha moment of like remembering back to when I was growing up, because I have PCOS, and that's what has caused me to have my apron tummy. And
yeah, so what is PCOS? I don't know.
It's polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's basically, it affects a lot of women, but basically it just, my ovaries have a bunch of cysts on them. And so that can cause you to like, I hold on to insulin really bad. And so that's what makes me have like just weight primarily in like my midsection. And it makes perfect sense when you line it up, because the only time I started gaining weight was when I was 12, and it was only in my stomach. And that's when most girls go through, they start have a period, and I didn't get mine. And I remember thinking back of like how beneficial it would have been if I would have saw somebody like me when I was younger, like how important that would have been to me to see somebody who was, confident, happy, doing great with life. And yeah, their body was different, but it didn't matter. Like they were still all these other things. And I realized at that point, I was like, oh no, I'm going to show my body even more now. Like, I don't care. And so, in a way, it kind of like healed an inner child in me as well, of just being able to become somebody I needed when I was younger, and being able to become somebody who younger me would have thought was just cool as hell.
And I love it that you call out the internet trolls. I think they're called trolls, right? I love that when you call them out, you show their profile and all that. There are some nasty people out in this world, right? We have to learn not to pay attention. One of my videos just went viral a couple of days ago, 1 million views, and my 14-year-old posted it, right? So now I'm paying my kids to create content, and so I'm involving them into my business. And since he posted it, he's constantly on there checking it for the views and all that. Well, he's also checking it for the comments, right? So I learned not to even look at it. So I just don't look. I don't read it if it's there. Like if it's super nasty, I delete it, but I never respond, right? And he responds. And I was like, Duke, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't give it. That's exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for their 3 seconds of fame, right? And to be acknowledged and feel like they achieved something. And I'm like, you can't do. There's like, Mom, but he's talking about you. And I'm like, I know, but you can't do that. So I see sometimes, I'm assuming most of the time you ignore them, but there are periodically a couple that you call them out and you turn it into an actual educational video. How do you decide which one to address and what not to address?
That's always something that people like, because if you address a hate comment, people are always like, oh, but don't let it get to you. I'm like, girl, it ain't getting into me. The reason why I respond to it is because I want you to see how I respond to it. I want you to see that the fact that this random guy on the internet thinks I'm fat does not affect how I'm going to go about my day today. It's not going to affect what I eat today. It's not going to affect how I look at myself. It's not going to affect anything. I want you to see that. I do not care. Like, that's all you can say to me. That's it. Like, I think that was a big thing for me too, is looking at it from the internet perspective of other content creators, social media people, and you see all the things that they get canceled for. You see all them doing just like horrible things and getting into scandals. And I'm like, that's the only thing people can come at me for. I've been on the internet for over 4 years, and the only bad thing I've done is be fat. Like, I don't think I'm doing too bad. You know what I mean?
No, so how do you make your money?
Social media and my business is my full-time job.
I love it. So in your business, we have a website. I'm not sure. So here's how I'm going to pronounce it. And you tell me if I'm wrong for your actual website, right? So take in consideration, English is my third language. And I'm going to put this is what I see. I see heifer, please.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Okay. But I feel like there's a little attitude in there. There's a little like heifer, please.
Yeah, a little bit. There has to be a little bit.
Oh, I love it. So what is the idea behind heifer, please? And by the way, heifer, for all of the people that don't know how to spell it, is HEIFER, please, co.com. So tell me, Lacy, what is it that you want to achieve with this website?
So for me, originally it started as just when you're on the internet and you build a following, people are like, we want merch, blah, blah, blah. And for me, I didn't want to have just something quick, easy grab that I threw my face on. I wanted to look at it as a long haul and like look at it like long term, because the internet isn't always forever. And I don't know if I want to be 40 making videos with my cows. Like, I don't know if that's what I'm going to do with my life. So I wanted to actually build something as a company, as a business, as a brand, so that I could continue with it. So I have a lot of different items that I sell. And I also have a trailer that I take to events and I set up at, which has been really awesome because I have built something outside of the social media, because obviously most, if not all of my online orders are from people from the internet who know me from my videos, etc. But when I go to shows, my customer base is probably every bit of 85 to 90% people who do not know who I am on the internet. They just come into my store because they liked what they saw and then they buy.
No way. So they don't, I guess maybe they don't spend as much on my social media because they're out there in the fields, right? Working. Yeah. So what is your best-selling product, you would say, or maybe top 3?
People definitely love the plushies. I have plushies that look like my cows. Those were a really fun project and people really love those. And then I'd say probably my shirts, my apparel is probably the next one. And then people also like, I take pictures of my cows like on canvases and I sell those as well. And I think people really like those.
Oh, I love it. So how long do cows live?
It depends. About like 18 to 22-ish years is around where
how old is Snow?
Snow is 9.
Oh, so she has long ways
to
go.
She's good.
She's a young lady.
Yeah.
So, and she just had a baby.
She did.
And what is her baby's name?
Jade. It's little Jadey baby.
Oh, is it a boy or a girl?
It's a girl.
A girl. She's so cute. She's just a little furry little thing.
Oh my God, she's precious.
So you're planning on, do cows usually have 1 babies?
So they are pregnant the exact same time as humans. It's like the 10-ish months, like 9, 10-ish months. So we don't breed anymore at the moment. We sold our bull. But when we did breed consistently, we would just have them have 1 a year.
Got it. Okay. And then you keep?
Yeah.
Are you going to keep
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. We only have 60 acres, which sounds like a lot if you don't have a farm, but when in the farming world, 60 is a very small operation. And so we did sell usually just because we have to keep our numbers at a certain level, but I don't sell as a feedlot. A lot of times I showed cattle growing up my whole life and like 4-H and FFA. And so I would sell to other kids so that they could have projects. That was a big way we sold. So a lot of my boys this year, I think that's how we'll probably sell them, is to some little kiddos so that they can have a fun 4-H project.
Okay, so tell us, what is a 4-H project?
So if you don't I don't know how to explain it, because obviously I don't know how every country works in that situation. Like, I don't know if it's something that's, I know other countries have it, because I remember getting really interested in the UK's version of certain breeds of cattle. But basically, when you show an animal, you are showing them for the qualities they possess. So for instance, if you're showing a beef animal, you are showing it for, if it's a male, because that's who we eat in the industry, it's always castrated males, steers. That's 90% of where your beef comes from.
Okay,
And
hold on. What does castrated
take away their
means?
manhood.
Oh, so they're
Yeah.
like my dog, like she's
Yes,
an
neutered.
it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
She's an
Yes.
it dog. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so most beef that we eat is male.
Yeah.
I mean, was before they got castrated.
So predominantly the way that, especially in the US, I could be different in other countries, but feedlots are filled with steers, which are males who have been castrated, neutered, and the prime time to slaughter them is usually around 15 to 18 months. And the reason why they're castrated is because testosterone makes the meat tough. So they get castrated, they're raised to slaughter weight, and then they are sent to slaughter. Now, at different stockyards and stuff, lower quality beef. So if you think like, your McDonald's or stuff, sometimes they'll end up slaughtering older cattle or females. They still get slaughtered as well. But in the large production of it, it is predominantly steers.
Really? So at what age do they get castrated?
It depends, honestly, because I don't run a feedlot operation, so I don't know. Sometimes they'll do it really young, like when they are like very soon after birth, and then sometimes they'll wait a couple months just because testosterone can be good for growth. But I don't know the exact number. I don't know the exact, because every operation's different. It just depends.
You get paid for the hour what you bring to the hour. Or in other words, the fastest way for you to earn more is by learning more. GoGet'em is your chance to learn from those who have walked the talk. Gogo invites all of the top performers in the industry to guide you through your success journey. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. The roadmap is already laid out. If you haven't figured out how to make money in your sleep yet, you're not running a business. You're stuck in a job. Join GoGet'em to learn how to earn passively and have your money doing all the heavy lifting so you don't have to.
To join GoGet'em Community, just go to www.gogetmcommunity.com and we will see you inside of our most amazing entrepreneurial community ever.
What is the 4-H project?
So a 4-H project would be if a kid was to show a beef cow, you can show breeding stock, which is the females, or you can show the meat stock. So if you show a feeder calf or a fat steer, you are showing it as its muscling, fat deposit, and basically seeing how good of meat would come from this animal. And then because I was a baby and I could never sell my calves because I got so attached. So I showed heifers because then I got to bring them home, because that's like Snow was a show heifer. She was my last show heifer I was able to show. But
so why do you show, I guess? So I imagine like a big, huge, I don't know, barn full with people sitting around, and there's a thing in the middle, and then you walk around with your show animal. Do you show? So if you're selling animals for beef purposes, right? Do you just go light one by one by one by one, or do you just show the best one, or how does that work?
So for 4-H and stuff, it's basically a situation where a kid has a project that is going to teach them a lot of good responsibilities, life lessons, because they're taking care of this animal. They're learning about where their meat comes from. They're learning how to properly take care of the animal. And then when you show it, it's like a competition. Like I have ribbons that I won from being in shows. So if you actually have a feedlot, no, you're not showing. You're just raising your animals. You're not caring. But the project side is mainly just for kids to be able to be involved in agriculture, be involved in the industry and learn about it. And I mean, I think that having kids raise an animal definitely shows them a lot about things when it comes to responsibilities and being in charge of something other than yourself. It teaches you about life and how to take care of things, and just a lot of.
So how long is a 4-H project? I'm assuming you're taking a baby a baby calf all the way to 3-4 years of age, or how long do they responsible for that animal?
Yeah. So for us, I'll use my fair as the very specific reason, just because it's what I know the best. So our fair is in September every year. And so your project has to be born after January if it's a junior animal. Okay. And so when you're taking your calves there, like a feeder calf, or when I would take my young heifers, you're showing an animal that's anywhere from 6 to 9 months. And you want to get it at least a couple months. Most kids get them 4 or 5 months before fair, just so you have plenty of time to work with them. But if you show a steer, which is when they reach the end of they're going to get slaughtered, that project is you sell them at 15 to 18 months old. So those kids are with those calves usually for a year or over a year.
Oh, that's awesome. So I had a favorite goat growing up. Her name was Mitzi.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say that Mitzi was taken by the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And I cried for months after Mitzi was taken by the wolves, right? I'm sure Mitzi at some point ended up on my plate. I just didn't know that. My parents and my grandparents refused to tell me. They told me now that I'm an adult and I know that, right? But thank God that they didn't tell me that we ate her, because I don't know if I could have died, processed it in my head.
Yeah.
I really had a special connection with Mitzi. She would come home from the fields every single day. She would come home and rub her face to mine. Mm-hmm. That was like how she said hi, right? Every morning and every night. And I just had a special relationship with her. So being attached to an animal, I can absolutely understand it. I had a dog who passed away when I was younger, and I literally was in a deep depression for a week. I just can't. I have a relationship with animals, right? I'm no vegan by any means. I eat anything that's already dead on my plate. Yep. But if we made eye contact, I'm not killing you.
Yeah, that's something that I struggle with people on the internet, because when they see me, there's a lot of assumptions made. People assume I'm a sanctuary. People assume that, I've rescued these animals, and I'm like, no, because I don't want to ever sell anybody a false narrative. I'm not a vegan. I'm not a vegetarian. I don't care if you are. You eat whatever is best for your body, and I will never judge that. But for me personally, growing up in the industry, seeing how things are handled, seeing the way it's processed, and we do not eat our own beef, but we have before, and it is still hard, but I would just not make that special connection with them. But there's also something nice about knowing that you got to give, you knew what kind of life that animal had before it gave its life for food. And so now what we do is we actually have a neighbor. I say neighbor because I live out in the country. So neighbor can be that they're 10 minutes away, but that's still your neighbor. But she raises beef, and that's the only place we get our beef from, because we know what how she treats them. We know how she takes care of them. And that's, I think, the most ethical way that you can eat meat. But I like to just share and try to break the stigmas, because so many people assume the worst of ranchers and farmers. But I'm like, if you just thought about it logically for a second, farmers don't they make money, but not that much. There's way better jobs that you could do with way less stress, way less overhead, way less work, and make even more money. You have to have a passion for agriculture and a passion for animals to want to raise them, because if you were to abuse a dairy cow, they don't make as much milk. If you are to put a cow in a stressful situation, they're not going to gain as much weight. So those animals are taken very well care of. I don't know how much you got to tell them to convince them, but I promise you, farmers are not out here beating the piss out of their animals for fun. That doesn't make them money.
Yeah, exactly. So what is your next goal? Where do you want to take this?
So I actually have completed some of my next goals, which is crazy. I'm currently writing a book. So I'm very excited about that.
What is it going to be called? Can you share?
We haven't landed on official name for the book yet, but it's basically going to be a fun read. I want it to be very light, very casual, like how I am. So it's an adult storybook. So I just kind of collected a bunch of fun stories from the farm, from childhood to now. And so it's like an adult storybook. It doesn't have to read all at once, because I'm ADHD brain bad. So that's the kind of book I can read. And I wanted to make it for my fellow neurodivergent friends, because I wanted to be something fun. And then I actually booked 2 shows to do stand-up this fall, which is crazy.
Stand-up comedy?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yes.
Is it gonna be about your life and animals and all that?
I feel like, so that is kind of the divide I have started to make, because I do want to make a brand that's more than just, I have this white cow or this cat that I strap to my chest. Like, I do want to make Lacie Evans known as well. And comedy is something I've loved. I always wanted to be a stand-up comedy, like comedian, but I never told anybody because I live in the middle of nowhere in Ohio. So I was like, that's never going to happen. But I would watch stand-up. And then when I was like 12 or 13, I would like practice jokes and I'd think about what I'd say and like all that. So then when the internet happened, it was like combining all of it, because I got to combine teaching people about agriculture. I got combine, being myself and healing that inner child and learning how to love myself fully. But then I also was like, I get to entertain people every day. Like, I get to make millions of people laugh all the time. Like,
And you're
that's so freaking
so
cool.
good at it. I'm so excited for you. You're gonna kill it.
I hope so. I am still a little nervous because I'm like, oh shit.
Of course, anything doing, and becoming good in anything requires a lot of practice and getting through the nerves and all of that. So you do it a few times and it's going to be like, I can't wait to do it again. It's like a runner's high. I do a lot of speaking, and if you asked me probably 10 years ago, even longer, probably 15 years ago, when my husband was learning public speaking, I was like, there's no freaking way I could ever do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I didn't necessarily have a career yet. Like, I imagine public speaking, that you go on stage and you talk about things that you have to learn and recite. And no, like, for me, it's nothing like that. For me, it's, I talk about things and I've been doing for the last 10 years. So it comes so easy, right? Because I talk about things and I've been there, done that. And I'm assuming you would write your own jokes and your own lines and all that. So that would come easy, just getting through the nerves and doing it for a first time. And after that, it's like a runner's high. I'm super excited. So where's your 2 speaking engagements going to be, or your stand-ups?
So I will be in San Diego the November 9th, and then Chandler, Arizona, November 10th. It's 2 comedy clubs. They're owned by the same people. So they went ahead and booked me for both shows. So I'm very excited. It's funny too, because it's obviously very far from Ohio, but it's the whole other side of the country. But I was
So who's
going
to be taking care of Snow while you're gone for 2, 3, 4, 5 days?
I know. Well, my parents and I have a system where we do not vacation together. So if my parents go on a trip, I stay on the farm that whole time. And then when I go on trips, they stay home.
So I just realized that I'm actually super close to you. So I live in Tampa, Florida most of the time, but in the summertime we live up in Michigan.
Oh,
so
okay.
Maybe, I think I probably have your cell phone number from your application list. Maybe I can stop by and volunteer for a couple of days. And
there you go. Check it out for
and take me back to my childhood, because I have done it all, right? Like, anything from milking cows to killing chickens, like you name it, I've done it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
But haven't in a while. But you can put me to work. I'll be free labor for you. That would be awesome. I didn't realize we were so super close to each other. So do you have a name for your book?
The book itself?
Yeah.
We are still working on what we want to call it, because there's a few different ideas in mind. It's like, basically, I think we're definitely going to call it like Tales of the Feral Cow Bitch, because that's what I've dubbed myself, and that's what my podcast is. And but I think there was like another tagline we might put before it, but we're just not sure yet. We're still kind of like toying around with the ideas of it.
I kind of like the heifer, please.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Put that in there somewhere.
Put that in there.
Yeah. So when your book is ready and live, would you please let us know? We can add it to this episode. So under every episode in the Gogopreneur episodes, we put everything that we can about you, all the direct links to all of the things that we mentioned, your website, your social media. And when you have your book, we can add that too for the listeners, because it's an evergreen, right? Like, this is going to be live in probably a couple months here. But then after that, it's live forever, right? So people can go and get your book at any time.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If you can give advice to someone that may be struggling today with their confidence for whatever reason, being weight, being age, being money, no money, education, no education, whatever their lack of confidence is, what would you tell them?
I think my biggest thing that I can relate to, at least, is definitely the body confidence and self-esteem. And I think that there's definitely a couple things to look at where your body is the least exciting thing about you. Like, genuinely, there's so much more to a person. Like, if you think about the way you would describe your mom or your best friend or your sister, you're not going to talk about their body. You wouldn't. Like, if you told me to describe my best friend, I'd be like, oh my God, she's the funniest person I know. She's so caring. She's the best mom ever. Like, I'm not going to mention anything about her body because it doesn't matter. So I think you have to really just focus on those other qualities of yourself and see yourself the way other people see you, because it's super easy to get wrapped up. Because the internet can be terrible in that way, where you're constantly comparing yourself. You see all these like flawless looking people, but at the end of the day, it really just doesn't matter, because all that matters is how you feel about yourself, how you look at yourself. And I think for me, just realizing that, the people that comment on my body on the internet are people who are I'm way better off, and not in like a cocky way, just in the way of, I don't have to comment on somebody else's body and bring them down in order to feel better about myself.
Oh yeah, I would never.
So I look at that as, I couldn't imagine scrolling the internet when I'm doom scrolling and taking that extra 30 seconds to just comment something hateful. I could never imagine doing that. So when someone does it to me, I'm just like, oh, honey, like, I'll be thinking about you, because
I'll be praying
yeah.
for you.
Because that's a sad
I
mindset
saw the
to be in.
opposite. When I saw you and I saw that video, I was like, I just love how you radiate, right? Like, you just know who you are. You don't give a bunny rabbit really of what people say or think. And one of my favorite things too, people ask me like, why, like, how'd you get over it and stuff? I'm like, you can't hurt my feelings, because in order for anyone to hurt my feelings, I have to give a beep about your opinion, and I just don't.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no one's opinion pays my bills. No one's opinion is going to send my children to college or use it as down payment on a condo, right? So, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's a free country. You can think and say whatever you want. You're entitled to it. It's not going to affect my life whatsoever. And I feel like the faster people are going to realize that people can really only hurt you if you allow them, right? If you give a damn about their opinion, that's really the only time. So it's on us. Because if someone hurts your feelings, you allowed them to. You care too much about their opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I think about, is I'm like, this is a person that's going to comment something and then run away, and I will never run into them. I will never see them. They would never say that to my face.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted to say. I had this situation happen in our Fancy Schmancy neighborhood in Florida. And I looked at my husband, because these are like these Facebook bullies, right? And I looked at my husband and I was like, I guarantee you that none of them would say it to my face.
Nope.
None Absolutely of them would have the balls to stand in front of me and say the same exact words that they typed up. I guarantee you.
Mm-mm. Absolutely not. Because it's always a profile that has no profile picture, no videos, no pictures. And it's like, most of the time, like, especially on TikTok, it's like a user, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, no, that's the thing, is like, and I'm not going to let it bother me. And when I respond, people are always like, oh, don't let it get to you. Don't let it get you. I'm like, no. I want you to see how I handle this. I know that the person who commented this is not going to watch this video, and I'm not going to change their mind. They are a miserable individual, because they are just being hateful on the internet. I want you to see this, because I want you to see that I can do all these things still and be called fat, because I'm like, you know what? You can call me fat, but you can't call me unsuccessful. You can call me fat, you can't call me broke. You can call me fat, but you can't call me not driven. Like, there's so many things that you cannot come for me for. So if the one thing you want to target, the one thing that makes you feel better is the fact that I'm not skinny, then okay, you can have that if that makes you feel better today.
So what are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to seeing where the heck the internet takes me, because there are a lot of really crazy opportunities that I would have never had imagined possible when it came to just posting a silly video on the internet 4 years ago. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to see where my business can go and other avenues that I can go down. I can't wait to see what writing a book and like being a published author, that sounds crazy. Like what? And then to be able to do stand up and hopefully make that something that I do more often. Like it's very exciting. There's so many things that are in the works, and I'm very pumped for them.
So let me ask you one last question, and this one popped in my head. What is the lesson that took you the longest to learn?
Comparison is the frickin' just steals all the joy out of life. The best thing you can do is not give a crap what anyone else is doing and follow your own journey, because it's going to happen in the right time. Do not compare yourself to other influencers. Don't compare your numbers. Don't compare where you're at, because A, they can be completely faking it and just posting the highlight reel, and B, doesn't matter because it's not your lane. So just stay in your lane and don't compare, and just be grateful for the journey, because it's going to all make sense as to why it might have taken you longer, or why this didn't happen, but this ended up happening. I think it's very easy on social media to like look at somebody do, because like I'm so guilty of it, especially in the beginning. I would see somebody doing something cool. So maybe I'd see a content creator at like a movie premiere or something like that. And I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I want to go to a movie premiere. Oh, they must have so many more followers than me. And I'd click on their page and they had like significantly less. So then I'm like, well, what the heck am I doing wrong? Why am I not at movie premieres? You know? and you compare.
Because you can't take a cow to a movie premiere red carpet. That's why.
And because I wouldn't want to go
not your
anyway.
path.
I wouldn't want to go anyway.
Exactly. It's not your path.
Yeah.
I think I say all the time, never compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 11.
Yep.
Right. Also, we are so different. Like there's not one human in the history of mankind that have the same fingerprint, the same DNA, the same retina, right? So if we are so different by design, if God created us to be so different that not another human ever existed that is exactly like you and never will, then why are we even trying to be like somebody else? It's impossible. We don't have what it takes to be somebody else. That somebody else is taken.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like I said, I think especially with social media, it's so easy to compare yourself. And I think that's why I really take it as like responsibility, which like, I love that it's my responsibility now, because then I get to just come to the internet looking absolutely feral. Like I never have makeup on. My hair's never done. I'm wearing, most of my clothes are from Target, but I think it's good for people to see that, because I'm like, I'm a real person on this internet. Like I don't live in LA. I don't drive fancy cars and go to fancy events. Like I live a very normal life on a farm. Like my money goes towards my animals. Like I'm just out here, and I just want people to know that you can be a real person. You can be successful, but you can still be a real person. And you don't have to have this Instagram lifestyle. Like you don't have to have, the beautiful, flawless home and just everything looks perfect and pristine. Like my room right now is a hot mess. It looks rough.
The farm life. So if you have to give like maybe 3 things why you think that your videos, and so many of your videos, of course not every video goes viral because it's the algorithm, but you had a very good success. Many of your videos went viral, right?
Yeah.
So what if you had to give it like 3 reasons why you think, or what it takes in your case, right, for a video to go viral? Which I know sometimes even looking at mine, I'm like, well, I besides the fact that the Instagram algorithm, the Instagram gods picked it up and pushed it, sometimes you're like, I don't really know, because I didn't, like, sometimes you make that video and you're like, oh my gosh, it's the best video I ever took, and you have like 9,000 views. So like,
oh,
what?
I know.
Right? And then you have this one, like I just had this one go viral for 1 million views, and it's like, it's my son asked me a question. The background is a total mess. There's like Cheez-Its on the couch, there's juice bags on the couch, there's like 3 blankets and a dog toy, and like it's usually not my life, right? It was a late at night kind of scenario, but that's the one that went viral. So go figure. So if you had to throw like 3 things at it, like you would say, what's important to go viral?
I think one of the big important things is originality. I think that just bringing something to the table that's different is very shocking. I think that that's been probably one of my biggest successes, is how I treat my cattle is so different than what people are used to. And I've shown people a completely different side of cattle. People didn't realize that they can be fun, and they all have their own personalities, and they enjoy being scratched and loved on, but they are also herd animals, and they take a while to gain trust. So like you can't go up to random cows. Like my cows are friendly with me because they've known me since they were born. So originality is a big thing. I think entertainment factor is a huge thing. But like you said, it's also just anytime my friends or other content creators ask me, like, what's the best advice? It's consistency. It's showing up for yourself every freaking day, because that's the thing. Algorithms are weird. You're never going to be able to master it. You're going to have videos that tank. You're going to have videos that do well. So it's the fact that it's what you do and how you show up when your videos suck. That's who makes who you are.
So let's talk about consistency super quick.
Yeah.
How often do you post? Like what's your like technique behind it?
I usually try to post twice a day, but at minimum once a day.
Okay. And do you do stories mostly or into your feed?
That's into the feed. And then stories I'm definitely more inconsistent with, because it's just like so much things to remember and try to post all at once. But I just try to be active. I try to be consistent, because at the end of the day, that is a big factor too. Because like you said, some of the videos that I've posted, I've been like, this is silly. This isn't going to do well. And then it gets a couple million views and I'm like, huh? And then I'll put my whole, I'll do like a video where I'm like, this is funny. Like I've put it together, like all this, and it tanks. And I'm like, what the heck? So that's why I think consistency above all is the best thing, because you can have the greatest idea and sometimes it'll tank, and then people give up easy because it's like, okay, well, I'm not doing well. I'm not making all this money from the internet. And it's like, yeah, you gotta bust your butt when no one's looking. And that's when you're going to see success.
So give it one more. So being unique, stick to yourself, be you, right?
Yeah.
Do it consistently. And one more.
Have a giant white cow that's really pretty. No, I'm just kidding.
It does have to. It does have to have snow. So while you were talking, I wanted to look up this guy because I couldn't remember his account, but he's like a guy version of you. I don't know if you know him. I think he's in Germany. His account is Mustache Farmer.
I don't know if I've seen him
Oh,
before.
you have to follow him. So it's Mustache, MOUSTACHE_farmer.
Oh,
And
he already came up.
Does he? Yeah. So yeah,
Oh, I think somebody tagged me in one of his videos, I think. Okay, so I have seen this man before.
Yeah, so he
Yes.
just has like these cuddle times with his animals, and his cows are just the sweetest thing ever. So I thought when I saw his account, because probably after I followed you, you know how the algorithm works, started feeding it to me.
100%, yeah.
I just, I thought of you when I saw him. I'm like, oh, he's a male version of you. He has pet cows and all kinds of animals, and I thought you would enjoy following him.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I
love it.
I think he's in Europe. So Lacy, thank you so much for being here today. Even though what I do here is super different, right? I wanted to have you on because you are in the world of men, just like I'm in the world of men, totally different world. But and you represent yourself so well, and you just don't give a damn. You don't give a bunny rabbit what people think. And I'm the same way in the real estate industry. Really, I'm not here to, someone said it. It's how it's my tea, and I sip it however I want to, and everybody gets to sip their tea, right? I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm not planning on being, right? I enjoy my own company, and I'm looking for the people who are looking for me. Right. I'm looking for my people. And I think you do it so well. And so I wanted to interview you because with my idea with the Gogopreneur show is to show the world like how many different entrepreneurs we make this like big pool of entrepreneurship, right? And how we get to do and create with our own freedom. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing your knowledge and your personality and your life, because an hour of your time is an hour of your life. And so I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was excited to come on. I think it's really cool what you do over there.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you. Maybe I get to do a road trip to Ohio from Michigan and I get to see you this summer. I would love to meet you.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Ready to elevate your mindset? Now it's time for What Would Gogo Do?
So in this episode of What Would Gogo Do? Random questions, random thoughts. And by the way, you can submit your random questions to whatwouldgogodo.com and I would love to feature you. Okay, question. What role does customer feedback play in your GoGet'em community service development process? Okay. 100%, 1,000,000%. I want GoGet'em community to be the last entrepreneurial community anybody will ever need. And because of that, I want the best customer service. I want the best training. I want access to my team. So I was thinking originally that what is the reason to my success, right? And I keep going back to knowledge. I keep going back to just learning things about things and how to run business and what to do with taxes and to get tax credits and where to invest your money and how to sell the next house and how to build a community, just anything, right? Anything that I want to know anything about. So originally I thought it was knowledge, but then I started continue thinking furthermore and I said, okay, what is really what's nails that knowledge in, right? And it's taking action. So who takes action? Is it me or my team? And it's my team. Right? So it's really not me setting up all of those systems and processes and AIs and things that I learn about. I go and learn, but then I bring the information and I give it to my team and my team sets it up, right? So with that being said, just recently we added a private Facebook group, a private Facebook chat. We added a Tuesday training for technology where all of our community members have access to our my tech VAs. Then we added a VA training for our community, right? So they can come and ask my VAs anything every Wednesday of the week, right? So I am huge on understanding what our community members want and implementing to make sure that their needs are taken care of. Also, once a week, we post inside of the group and ask them, what do you need training on, right? What can we help you with? And also, as our new members are coming in, we're asking them the same question, even on their application. So even on the application and in the GoGet'em community, we ask everyone of like, where are they at in their career and what do they need help with? Because when we're reading that, it gives us ideas of what other service or what other training to add to the GoGet'em community to make that community to be the last community they ever need to join as an entrepreneur to take their businesses to 7 digits plus consecutively. Hopefully that answers your question. Thanks for joining Gogopreneur. Keep that go-getter spirit alive. Until next time, go get 'em.